Today on the podcast, we look at the most important upgrade in Metroid Fusion, the tinfoil hat. Welcome to Lore Party, the podcast that explores the stories, characters, and lore behind some of our favorite video game universes. I'm your host, Neil.
And I'm Lawerence.
All right, Lawerence. Last time, we talked about getting onto the BSL, exploring around a little bit, we're taking orders, and things are getting a little bit weird. We stumbled into a place called the Restricted Laboratory, and it is insane.
Yep.
What were your feelings the first time you walked into this place?
It was like kind of being inside of a horror movie. It actually reminds me of that new horror movie, Us. Just because, you walk back in the Restricted Laboratory a little bit and then you come face to face with yourself, basically. And it's the most shocking revelation. And I think in all of Metroid, because you see this like kind of lifeless, soulless version of Samus, but with all of the power and none of the humanity.
Yeah, but before that even happens, that first room, there's test tubes, man, and it is every Metroid you killed in Metroid 2 Return of Samus. It's the basic one. There's Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Zeta, Laser, Razor. They got all kinds in there, man. And you see the entire life cycle of them, and then you walk into the next room, and it's all the infants, dozens of them, and then that soulless, lifeless husk that is the SAX fighting all these infants.
So it's basically like reliving the horrors of was it Metroid 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like playing the game all over again without the terrible music. So yeah.
You got to play that remake, man. It's so good. But this place, like, before you ever get in there, when you learn about it, it just blares. And it's really nice having an audio cue like this in Metroid. It just blares. No entry without authorization. We've never had a warning like that in these games before. Like, the game itself is telling you, you're not welcome here. We always got that feeling going on these alien planets, but for the first time, it's someone telling us. But eventually, you get the wave beam, you flip the switch, and you get in there. You finally go somewhere in this game without the proper security clearance. Super badass. Metroid Fusion finally lets you do what you want for a minute.
Right. It finally lets you do like something that matches Samus's personality.
Absolutely. And it's so scary in there because you can't get hurt during the sequence, but you just watch the SAX blasting away all these infants. And this is what this whole game is about. It's you versus the SAX, the Metroids versus the X-Parasite.
Right.
It's all culminating, and it's a really it's a boiling point.
Even going back to seeing the SAX, which is the X-Parasite version of Samus destroying the Metroids, it's strange almost because it's like you're reliving the events of Metroid 2 and the mass extermination of the Metroid species. It's like you're reliving it from the outside.
Yeah, and you're watching the SAX pretty much sweating it, like it's in a clear frenzy.
Right.
Just blasting all of these.
And it's part of it is the X-Parasite is now equipped to take on its own natural predator, but it's also like you looking at yourself because you were doing it in Metroid 2 based off of like some orders that were given to you without thought. You were just, going out and exterminating this species.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think that's like a really cool part of this game. Like you're seeing your own actions as a like kind of strict rule follower, like just laid out in front of you. And to even add to that, you are now partially a Metroid yourself.
Right. It's pretty much destroying the last of your kind, which very soon you are now once again like the Chozo, the last of your kind, because the self-destruct sequence gets triggered, and that secret laboratory, that restricted area, is being jettisoned off into space off of the BSL and exploding as a cautionary protocol.
Like it often does in Metroid games.
But so I mean that has to kind of make you scratch your head for a minute. Is what the hell is this thing doing here?
Right, because up until that point, you were under the assumption that the Metroid were gone, and that the last living Metroid gave its life to basically cure you.
Yeah, and save you from Mother Brain. Like, I mean, to really break it down, like, okay, we're looking at Zero Mission. Like, collecting and breeding Metroids, that's a Space Pirates game. That's not for us.
Right.
Metroid 2, we're going to their planet. We're blowing them up. Great. Metroid 3, those darn space pirates are back to cloning Metroids. Let's go stop them. And now it's the Galactic Federation. This is their deal. They are the only people who had access to Metroid DNA. And what blows my mind is I didn't realize this until after beating the game. The first area, like Sector 1, that is based off of SR388.
Right.
And this is the natural Metroid life cycle. They aren't just bigger like they would be on Zebes, like the Super Metroid. They made the environment to control these things. Now, what for? We know that they are used as like biological super weapons. How do they expect to control these things?
Right. And I mean, the strange thing is, like, the biological super weapons and determining that the Metroid were actually dangerous was something that the Galactic Federation, they had a hand in. They determined that.
Yeah.
But now we find that they're over here, like, breeding these things just like the space pirates did. So yeah, it's like, what are they using these for?
Yeah, the shoe's on the other foot right now. And it's so strange, especially with this being the first game where you are on a job really from the Galactic Federation. Not being Zero Mission, but you're on a job not by choice. You pretty much owe them for saving your life. And you're taking direct orders constantly from this ship.
Right.
And eventually you go and talk with the ship, and it's just like, oh, it was for peaceful purposes only. This AI that the Galactic Federation gave you. I don't know if you can trust it.
Right. And like, I don't know if we want to get into this now, but this is very similar to how the Other M storyline kind of played out.
Absolutely. Like they had, what was it? It was Sector 0 in Other M. It was Metroid breeding program, except these were regular Metroids, and they couldn't be frozen, which is horrifying.
Right. So they were genetically engineering them to, like, be used as a weapon, and they were eliminating the weakness that the Metroids normally had.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to say this for listeners. I know, like, Other M gets a lot of hate, and I'm not defending it really, but if you love Metroid Fusion, Other M is basically 3D Metroid Fusion. It's fun to play once. But yes, no, it is exactly like the moment in Other M. And the way that all plays out is it still jettisons off, it still explodes. The only difference is your CO, Adam Malkovich, who you name your ship after in Fusion, shoots you in the back to stop you from going into Sector 0. You're like at the threshold of it. He goes in, seals it off, and goes and explodes, like, and saves the day.
And that's such an Adam Malkovich thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, he just always wants to be in charge, in control. It's how, that was one of the main points in Other M2 is that he saved a vessel full of people because he didn't save his brother, who was like an engineer on a ship that was going to blow. And it was Samus was getting into it with him then. He made the right call ultimately, as he always does. Man,
right.
That guy.
Right, and to like unpack him a little bit further, he is like someone who always weighs like good versus evil, I think. Like, he's a very like logical, tactical person, and I think some of the
100%.
And a lot of the decisions that he makes are like, the average person looking from the outside probably wouldn't agree with. From most people's perspective, it seems like he doesn't have a lot of compassion, but I think he is the living personification of like, you know, what one or like few lives are sacrificed for the greater good, then that is the best choice.
Yeah, and that's how Fusion plays out entirely, because you have the threat of the Metroids and the threat of the X-Parasite, and you need to stop it at all costs, or else the whole galaxy is going to be fucked one way or the other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like why he is like he had a special relationship also with Samus. And I think as much as Samus like hates taking orders, like Adam and Samus kind of made a really good team. Like Samus hates taking orders and Adam will give out orders like for the greater good. Like he definitely uses his position to the fullest extent. To, you know, to make sure that things are done correctly.
Yeah.
And even though they'd never really agree on much, because like one of the reasons why Samus left the Galactic Federation in the first place was the same mission that you mentioned earlier, where Adam, you know, willingly sacrificed his own brother to save the lives of other people.
Which, like, also, like, sidebar, his brother was totally cool with and was just playing hero and this and that, like...
Right.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
Right. I mean, and he knows that, and it's not like...
Still controversial, though.
And he's not a heartless person. He just he's just really good at making these tough decisions.
Absolutely.
And even when they involve himself, like in Other M, he sacrificed his life to save like everybody from these Metroid that, you know, weren't supposed to be like, they weren't supposed to be created. Like the Galactic Federation wasn't supposed to be breeding these Metroids. And he understood that having these Metroids, these weaponized versions of them, that they could pose a greater risk to the galaxy and the universe. And he sacrificed his life to get rid of them.
Yeah, like, he gets it. He's a good leader. He knows what's going on. He knows what to do. Like, he is a stand-up guy and a role model for all.
Yeah. and I just love how their personalities kind of, like, contradict each other, but they also are one of the reasons why they're as close as they are.
Absolutely. And so that's why it's kind of nice in Fusion. You see, like, oh, this ship that's acting as the CO reminds me of the old CO, Adam Malkovich. You know, okay. So Samus starts calling him Adam. It gets real friendly. And at one point, the ship says, you know, Adam Malkovich's famous catchphrase, "Any objections, lady?"
Yes.
And that's when it's revealed. This, again, like, crazy, weird shit is going on with the Galactic Federation because Adam Malkovich had his mind uploaded to their server and downloaded to the ship. It is Adam Malkovich giving you your orders.
And in traditional Adam Malkovich fashion, it still is looking after the greater good.
Yeah.
Like you would think that like the Galactic Federation has, you know, whatever this downloaded mind of this person, like they can manipulate it. And it seems like they are manipulating him throughout the entire game because he's like withholding information. He even tells you like the Galactic Federation had your plasma beam developed. They just held off giving it to you because they didn't want you to confront the SAX. Like they were limiting your power. But ultimately, in the background, he is working to do things that like are beneficial to you, but beneficial to the galaxy overall.
Right, like, amidst this conspiracy with the Galactic Federation, like, just beyond the Metroid development program, you could argue that they want to weaponize the SAX. You know, there's 10 of them running around. It has all of Samus's power. If they can make docile Metroids for them, why not the SAX?
Right.
Adam Malkovich, the ship, Adam Malkovich, he knows this is all wrong. But it's still so weird trying to figure out like what the turning point is like in his compliance and duty to the Federation itself versus, oh, this is now an issue of the greater good. I think that all culminates in the plan that they hatch up towards the end of the game.
Right. When they, you know, eject that part of the spaceship.
Right.
Or actually,
really,
the entire
this
spaceship.
Is the whole thing. Right?
Yeah, the entire spaceship. Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, and you have to think, like, to have a relationship, to, like, have a plan like that for the two of them to go against the Galactic Federation, it's really something else. Because, I mean, you have the prequel manga to Metroid, or for Metroid Zero Mission, I guess, where he was the one who allowed Samus to go to Zebes and search for Chozo survivors there. He commanded this Federation Army Special Ops battleship called the Vixen 4 that engaged with Ridley to give Samus more time down on Zebes. In Other M, he basically became her CO again on the bottle ship, even though there was no reason for that. It was their investigation, sure, but she wasn't part of the team, which is why he acts a little coldly towards her, but she didn't have to follow his orders. They were just that cool together.
Right.
And he was the one who stopped her from getting fucked up by all these Metroids that she couldn't freeze and sacrificed himself. They go so far back. They are so deeply rooted. It's perfect.
And I think he's just super aware of his duty.
Yes.
And I don't think that he's not one of those people that he's got a duty to the Galactic Federation. I think he really is I have a duty to, the citizens of this galaxy, to the people that are closest to me, to everyone outside of this. He's not someone that can be manipulated. And he's not I think what separates him from Samus is he isn't brash. He thinks about things. He is calculated down to a letter. He knows exactly what he's doing. Where Samus runs off emotion. If she doesn't feel something is right, then it isn't right, and she'll rebel against it.
Right. And I think because of Adam Malkovich in his reveal in this game, I think we see Samus at the top of her game now, because she has her new lightweight suit, so she can maneuver really well. She has her Chozo blood infused in her, so she's even more athletic than ever with that in the suit. She can now absorb this X-parasite that is going to ravage the universe, so she's fine there. And beyond that, she has the cool-headedness and strategic mind of Adam Malkovich behind her.
Right.
She's unstoppable now.
Yeah. And it's it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Honestly, while I'm sitting here thinking about it, one, I didn't expect to talk about Adam Malkovich this much. I never gave him much thought. But secondly, just because I'm at Abu's apartment and he's in the other room watching Full Metal Alchemist, God, does he remind me of Roy Mustang.
Yes. Oh my God. That is the perfect comparison. He is Roy Mustang. Just
good sense of duty, knows when to tell the government to fuck off.
Exactly. Always has a plan, but can also appear like he's following orders.
And, my favorite order that Malkovich gives the whole game is the great plan to drop the BSL onto planet SR388.
Yes. And totally annihilate the station and the planet in doing so.
They're killing two birds with one stone. Where's the X-parasite? Oh, on the ship. Where else is it? SR388. Perfect.
Right. And you're also eliminating the what I would consider illegal cloning and mass production of the Metroid species.
Yeah, so, two of the galaxy's biggest predators in the same place blowing up? Not too shabby, Adam Malkovich.
Right, yeah, no, it's an awesome idea. And, getting rid of the entire planet is just hey, if there is anything else here that's with the X gone, this becomes, top contender, we're getting rid of all of it.
Right. There's only really one or two things in your way. One is, so after you launch the restricted area, the ship tells you, hey, that SAX following you around, that Samus clone, there's 10 of those. Which why I think is the Galactic Federation realizes they can weaponize it because it's multiplying.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, turns out you didn't get rid of all the Metroids. The last Metroid in captivity isn't you. It's an Omega Metroid. And it's standing between you and your ship. And you need to get the fuck out of there because that self-destruct sequence is going to go down.
And then the best, the worst best thing or the best thing happens.
So, I guess before this even, you fight the SAX. It is, the boss battle.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're in the control room, basically, fighting this thing. And it's still using the Metroid strategies against you. Ice Beam, missiles. Great. And then it transfigures itself into that gross creature, which is basically the horn toad that it started as on SR388, bringing the whole thing full circle. You kick its ass because it's clearly spent, and then you go to the hangar, the Omega Metroid shows up, and I feel like it is that SAX because it shows up as its core form and then becomes the suit. So it has to be the same one.
Yeah. And then you basically regain all of your old powers, but like still in this new form for Metroid Fusion.
Yeah, you absorb it. The form factor of the suit is the same, but it takes on the classic Varia colors instead of like that gross neon green Varia suit that you had.
And I like how at the end of the game, like you still don't go back to being like the regular Samus.
No, you are not the same. There are lasting implications because of this game.
Yeah, you just get your powers back, but you have that same form. Like, you have this new ship that's your CO. You know, that's like the mind of your old CO that you...
Yeah, like there was a lot of change today, you know?
Right, it's like you completely rebuilt Samus from the ground up.
Absolutely. And so, not even just rebuilding Samus, but kind of things with the Galactic Federation. Because, let's break down what happens at the end of this game, or what has transpired by the end. Number one, the X-Parasite, that threat's gone. Great. That's just the game. Number two, for sure, at this moment, you are the last Metroid. You are the only thing with Metroid DNA as far as we know. That's pretty rad. That leads into the next point. The Galactic Federation was cloning Metroids. That's no good. You are the last one. The Space Pirates, all they've done so far really is clone Metroids. You are the only one. They're both definitely coming for you. And the Galactic Federation has even more of a reason because, one, you just self-destructed the BSL. You just destroyed their Metroid cloning program. You just destroyed the fucking planet that they were researching at the start of this game with you as their escort.
Right.
You're in serious shit. Your computer, who shouldn't have given you any of this information or told you that it's Adam Malkovich, or your ship, not your computer. He is the computer. But he's now in deep shit.
Yeah.
And you're both just flying away somewhere. Obviously, the Federation can contact you via this ship. Something heavy is about to go down.
Yeah, so you are now, like, I don't know, I feel like, yeah, you're now the most wanted individual. And I mean, and that's just not, like, you know, in the criminal sense. Like, you contain the last bit of Metroid DNA.
Yeah, because I'm sure someone wants their Metroid DNA back, and they're going to get it. But there's two quotes at the end of the game that inspire hope, yet they sound kind of grim. Adam tells Samus, "Do not worry, one of them will understand. One of them must." So hopefully that means in the future, someone's on our side.
Right.
And then Samus's final reflection in the game is, "We are all bound by our experiences. They are the limits of our consciousness. But in the end, the human soul will ever reach for the truth. This is what Adam taught me." So it now just sounds like Samus is going to do what she thinks is right, no matter what the consequences for her actions realistically are about to be. And damn it, this is why I want Metroid 5.
Hell yeah, because I need to see what happens next.
Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. We want to thank you for tuning in and being part of the show. Be sure to connect with us on Twitter at lore_party and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.